Hi everyone, welcome to another Mind Valley Insiders episode. Today our guest is Daniel Packard. Now some of you may have seen Daniel. He showed up at A-Fest. He networked with several people in my team. And Daniel, you see, is a guy they call the Love Doctor. He's called the Love Doctor because he's got these beautiful models and systems so crystal clear, so easily applicable, that just happen to help people fix their messed up love lives. And so people started coming up to me and saying, Vishen, you got to talk to this guy. Vishen, you got to bring him onto Mind Valley because he's going to be able to influence so many people. I then brought Daniel to speak at A-Fest. He went from being an attendee to being a speaker. And again, he thrilled the crowd. We then brought Daniel to come and speak at Mind Valley University in Barcelona, which is where we're doing this interview right now. But now, because Daniel has had such a profound impact on our community, we wanted to pull him into our film studio and do a whole new episode with Daniel Packard, the Love Doctor. Daniel, welcome.
Thank you.
So I know you're absolutely thrilled to be here.
Yes.
And I love the socks. I love the green shirt. One question,
Yes,
why
sir.
Love Doctor?
You know, that's what people call me. I think, partly it's because in some ways, I don't like to use the word fix, but people come to me and they're in pain and they're suffering and it's not working and we've all been there. And just like a doctor, I listen, I can diagnose, and then I give people a little epiphany, a little pop, sort of like cracking your back, where they feel better, they feel lighter, they feel more hopeful.
That's what I like about you, Daniel, is, get this, Daniel was a professional stand-up comedian for 10 years. And so one of the reasons why I love doing these interviews with you or seeing you on stage is that you take a topic that can be so painful for so many people, but you bring so much humor into it. Secondly, he's built very precise and clear models on the mechanics of self-love. Clear and practical understanding of how self-love works, how it affects our lives, and how to build self-love for ourselves on a daily basis. And he's the author of the book, Love's One Lesson, How One Thing Can Change Everything. So I think that's a pretty good intro so far.
Doesn't that sound good?
Phenomenal.
It's efficient. We love efficiency.
Phenomenal. So now, let me ask you the opening question, right? So, my team sent me this question to ask you, and I'm not supposed to mention names, so this is basically a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend who wants to know, why is my love life cursed? Why am I not getting the love I want? Is there something wrong with me? Why am I never meeting the right person? Go ahead.
I feel you, girl. I feel you, guy. To all the people, I know you would never struggle with love because you were hatched from spores at Roswell.
I have so many issues with love.
Thank you,
We're
brother.
going to discuss some of that as well. I'm
Okay,
as human as everyone else.
Even the clown cries. So to all the people out there, myself included, at times we suffer and we struggle. And certainly for me, when you don't know why things aren't working, you can't help but start to feel that there's something wrong with you. I certainly did. I used to try and try and try. And I thought there were wonderful things about me. I knew I was charming. I was height-weight proportionate. I knew to match my belt with my shoes. I knew I had a lot to offer a woman, but there was just nothing. There was just like little dust bowls rolling through my emotional saloon town. And so after enough failure, when you don't know what it is, I really started to think there was something wrong with me. And I remember having a conversation with a best friend, and with no sense of hyperbole, I said, would you tell me if I'm broken? I honest to goodness think I'm broken, and I meant it because I didn't know what it is. So to all the people out there that you think there's something wrong with you because your love life isn't working or you think you're broken, here's what I'm here to tell you. As a scientist, as a mechanical engineer, there is nothing wrong with you. The reason that your love life is not going well is because love is hard. Love is hard. When we think of love, we often think of like the daisies and the dandelions and the Hallmark cards and the romantic comedies, but it's hard. And just when it's going well, love will just pick you up like a angry gorilla and throw you down and steal your emotional lunch money. So love is hard. You're not imagining it. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not alone. And the reason that it's hard is because it's supposed to be hard. Because God wants love to be challenging to get you to learn lessons. So when love is really difficult, it's not that there's anything wrong with you, it's that there's something really right with you that God is trying to wake you up to realize. So in this training, I'm going to show you what is actually keeping you from the love that you want. One, it's going to give you more hope and excitement that love is out there, but also, most importantly, you will stop blaming yourself and thinking that there's something wrong with you.
Now, question, Daniel.
Yes,
What
sir.
about those of us who are in a relationship? We're no longer seeking, but we want to get better. Will this training still matter to us?
Because I love efficiency, and we all love efficiency, this training, just like the book says, one thing that can change everything, this is going to help. If you're in a relationship, you want to go from good to great. This will apply to all areas of your life, public speaking, sales, business. It's mostly about being the best version of ourselves, which, as you know, applies to all areas
Bingo.
of your life.
And I want to vouch for that. I'm in a relationship. I've been with Christina now for 17 years, and listening to Daniel has given me some profound insights. So that said, the next question is, what are some beliefs about love that make it so hard, as you said?
The reason that we struggle with love, it's a very simple answer, and it's that we have bad love software. We're just these little robots, and we have love software. And we got original good software. We were kids and babies. Babies are amazing at love, and kids are amazing at love. Kids do almost everything that self-help books tell you to do. They're present, they're authentic, they express their needs. A 5-year-old will walk up to you and just say, ice cream! You know, they're expressing their needs. And if you do something, they'll go, I don't like it. It's boundary setting. They're really good at love, and even though kids sometimes will poop and puke on you, we like to be around kids. That's how lovable they are. As an adult, if I poop on you, our relationship's over, Mission. Am I right? I can't get away with that. But kids are so adorable, they can keep you up all night, all the time, and you still want to be around babies. So babies and kids have perfect love software. We still have that in us, dormant, but we have bugs in our software. And it's the bugs in our software that keep us from love, not who we are as a person.
Right, and for those of you on Mind Valley Insiders, when he talks about bugs in our software, think of those as models of reality.
Yeah. And then what happens is we have these bugs in our software, which are confusions, Pavlovian links, limiting beliefs, whatever you want to call them. The problem is we don't go in and go at them. And they sit within our code creating problems, and then we get distracted into the problems, and we're trying to deal with the problems. It would be like if your computer had bugs in the software and the computer is running hot, and you spent all your energy just cooling down the computer instead of actually looking at the bug. So one of the things that we do that is making our computer run hot and not helping us is that we think that we need to know things for love. That's one of the biggest myths ever, is that you need to know something for love. And when you say, well, what do you mean I need to know something? You'll hear when people talk about love, they'll say, what do I do? What should I say? There's a billion-dollar book industry saying to do this, to do that. Sometimes clients will come to me and say, I've been out of the dating game for a really long time. What do I do? There's this belief that if I just knew some information, if I just had the rules or the blueprint, things would go well. And the simple fact is that to be good at love, you don't need anything to know. The only thing that you need for love is what you're already good at, which is being you. Being you. 99.9% of healthy love is based in authenticity. Sharing what your needs are, asking what you want, setting boundaries, sharing your pain, your fear. Intimacy is just one person being authentic across from another person being authentic. They're like, hey, I'm authentic. And they're like, I'm authentic. That's love. That's basically all it is. This is actually sign language for connection. And so as long as you're being authentic and they're being authentic, you're going to have intimacy, love, connection. So you're already an expert at love. There is nothing intellectual or cognitive to know. And by believing that you think you need to know something about love, it doesn't not only not work, it actually sets you backwards. Because to be authentic takes practice. It takes time being you, being outside of your comfort zone, being authentic, being vulnerable. It takes practice. You have a talent at being you, but you still have to be in the game and practice being you. However, if you're off thinking and analyzing, saying, what should I do? What should I say? What if I do this? What if I do this? You're robbing yourself of the actual experience of authenticity, which is truly how you become better at love. So to all the overthinkers out there, and I am a recovering overthinker, not only does overthinking not help, it actually hurts you because it robs you of an opportunity to be you. But also, love works the more authentic you can be. And when we're thinking, we're in a vibration of thinking and not authenticity. So, for instance, let's say we're in a relationship, okay, and we're struggling, and you be the girl, and I'll be the guy, and I walk up to you with a vibration of thinking, okay? And I walk up to you, hey, hi, I wanted to talk to you about something, and I thought about it, and I wanted to tell you here's how I kind of feel. I hope I don't mess this up, and you like me. Okay, how close? Do you feel close to me in that moment? Do you trust me in that moment? Do you feel me in that moment?
It kind of pushes you away.
Exactly. Okay, now I didn't say anything wrong. I didn't make anybody mad. I didn't say the wrong thing. I was in my comfort zone because I was up here and I... Okay, now here's just sloppy, no thinking authenticity. Vishen, I am scared to death. I adore you. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I want to run and I want to hug you and I'm freaked out, but I'm here and I want to make it work.
That's actually kind of refreshing.
Yeah, right? Totally messy.
Where
totally
were you
sloppy.
when I was a teenager?
Yeah, vulnerable. I made mistakes, but are you drawn to me more?
So much more.
Yeah.
Because I think what I also noticed there was authenticity, right?
Yes.
Authenticity. I was just interviewing another person here on this program, Mind Valley Insiders. That person is Eric Edmeades, right? We're doing an interview on public speaking, and he said something really interesting. He said, we have a primal drive to want authenticity. If you go back 10,000 years, who would you rather have? An inauthentic friend who might someday stab you at the back, or an authentic enemy whom you know you need to be watching out for? So authenticity is something that evolutionary we want in our lives. And I think you just demonstrated that in that beautiful little demo.
Thank you. So I just want to tell everyone that the best love advice that's out there is already out there and you already know it, and that's to be yourself and be honest. Anything past that, you're overthinking.
But here's the question, right? So I want to go back to the problem I experienced when I was just graduated from college. So this was like 1999, 2000. I tried to be authentic, but deep inside, I was a nervous, insecure wreck. And to be authentic would be to show how many, self-doubt issues I had and how much lack of self-love I had. And that would turn away women. So what do we do if we're in that situation?
Well, first of all, remember how I said if you have bad software, then it's almost like we have bad software on top of the bad software, because your foundation is off, everything is off. So you just said to me, what if I walked up to a woman and told her my insecurities? Isn't that going to drive a woman away?
Right.
You said that. You actually believe that if you reveal the real you, she's going to run away. That's bad software, because you play the girl, I'll play the guy, okay? I walk up to you. I'm completely insecure, but I saw you and I just wanted to say hi.
You're right. I see what you mean. I see what you mean.
Look, I can even say weird stuff, okay? You be the girl. Hi, I just saw you and I want to say hi, and I probably shouldn't tell you this, but I collect hamsters. And one's named Eddie, and I make little vests for him because it reminds me of how my mom used to make vests for me. Like, that's even creepy, but it's like, oh, it's vulnerable. It's such a powerful... Don't use that line, by the way. That was an exaggerated... But my point is, be yourself and be honest never doesn't work. If you don't want to do it, just say I'm too scared. That's fine. Say I'm too afraid to be honest. That's fine. But don't trick yourself into the myth of I shouldn't be blank. Authenticity and vulnerability, it's the way that we speak through God. It's divine, it's beautiful, and you're making your love life based on universal truths, which is intimacy and connection.
You're right. That was a really key lesson. The power of being yourself and being authentic. I like that. Because I think so many of us, I remember in my insecure post-graduation years, I would read all of these books on dating and love, and they never frickin' seemed to help. Because I figured out that, I assumed that there was this little checklist I had to do. Like you said, had to make sure my belt matched my shoes. Ridiculous. I wish I had you to slap me around as a 24-year-old.
I wish I had made a slap me around. When I look back to the stuff that I used to do thinking it would work, I just I wish it's a wonderful life.
Okay.
I wish I could go back.
We're speaking as men. What about women? Would this apply to women as well?
I mean, we're just humans. We're just little blobs of the divinity. It's all the same. This would work on Mars. It's about what's the fundamentals of what is love? Love is basically just a connection. That's all it is. It's a connection based on authenticity. It's simple.
Right.
People like to overcomplicate it because they're too scared to do this. But that's different than this is not the basis. It would be like, what if a kid walked up to me and said, Vision, I'm really thinking of getting into being in the playground. And I'm thinking of reading some books first on how should I approach children on the playground? Like, would you turn to the kid and say, that's a phenomenal idea, study up? Or would you just tell the kid, get out there, be you, and pray?
You're right. That's a beautiful metaphor. I got that. So let's go on to the next question. The next question is, so you feel that certain people's perception of love is backwards. What does that mean?
What I mean by that is when we get to later in this training, the basic core software corruption, the original corruption, it then creates these other software glitches. And what we do is we start to try and get love on the outside. We try and get love and obtain love. A lot of the language around love is, I'm going to get love. How do I get more love? How do I manipulate the person to get them to say? We think that love is like this object or this thing that we're going out to get and obtain and trap and like sort of snort like cocaine. It's an object that we get. And in reality, love is not a thing that you get. Love is an effect of your evolution. It's an effect. You don't go get it. You grow as a person and the love shows up. So metaphorically, an athlete who wants a gold medal, you don't say, I'm really working on gold medal obtainment. I'm going to read a book on how to find a gold medal, how to seduce a gold medal, how to get a gold medal to like me. You don't go get and obtain and trap a gold medal. You train your body to a level of magnificence such that the gold medal is an effect and it shows up. So God uses love as a reward system for us getting our act together. So if we use the egoic model of, I'm going to try and figure this out, and who am I, and who should I be, the perfect version of me to get love, it's exhausting, as you know. It doesn't work long term, as you know. But what if I turned to you and I said, just wake up every morning with an intention to grow and be the best version of you, and let God be your matchmaker? Doesn't that just sound better? Doesn't that just let you relax a little bit?
That should be in a t-shirt.
Yeah?
Be the best version of you and let God be your matchmaker. I love that. Okay, so Daniel, I want to ask you something. Now, you're a mechanical engineer. I was a computer engineer, which means that basically when I went to school, I was surrounded by other guys who were completely left-brained, who had great minds, but absolutely no social skills, including myself. And I would always see these cute girls, on my campus in Ann Arbor, Michigan, that I'd so want to approach. And I'd read all of these books, but I found that I couldn't even take a step towards them. I would just be gripped by fear. What do you say to people who face that fear, who have those self-esteem gaps that prevent them from even stepping forward and opening their mouth to someone they're interested in?
Well, again, I would say you're not alone, and we're all going through it, and that's what I went through. I mean, that was my heroic struggle. I was incredibly insecure. I would see the girl, and it was just like she was right there. And in college, it was the worst because I was in the dorm rooms. There's all these, girls in dorm rooms that are like rebelling and trying to make mistakes and piss off their parents, and we're all packed in. It was like, but I couldn't approach one, so it was like being a diabetic in a candy shop. I couldn't do anything, and I'm just sitting there like, just crippled by fear. And at one point, there was this girl, and we were even like cuddling. That's how, she was in my bed, and I wanted to she had nice hair, and I know this looks creepy, but it rubs the lotion. But the point is, my hand would not move, and I thought, what is this? And it was fear, and we all know that. You don't need me to tell you that authenticity works. You already knew that. What keeps us from that is fear. So the scientist in me said, I am tired of being afraid. What do I do? So I got the answer. I was very afraid, and I thought I was just stuck in fear. And I had pimples, and I thought I was too ugly to be loved, and I would die alone with cats. Like, that was my fate, and that was my software, but it felt very real. I didn't know that it was malleable. And then I met this kid, Derek, in college, and he had pimples, and I saw him, and I just thought, well, he's got pimples, I've got pimples, we're going to die alone with cats. Like, that's our scientific destiny. But I noticed that Derek wasn't afraid like I was. Derek was quite comfortable in his own skin, and I wasn't. And then on the third week of school, I saw something that totally blew my mind, is that Derek, a guy with pimples, was holding hands with this girl named Pippa, who was like the prettiest, coolest, funniest girl in school, and she's holding hands with Derek. Now, my first thought is that yes, Pippa is an escort. But then I realized something even deeper is going on, and I went up to Derek, and I thought, what is going on here? He was challenging my models of reality, and he said, what do you mean? I said, how did you get Pippa when you've got pimples and you're unlovable like me? And he said, I just know I'm a 10 out of 10. And I was flummoxed by that. I'd never heard a human, let alone a pimply human, talk this way. And I thought, oh, Derek, you're faking confidence. Women like confidence. It's a trick, right? You don't really believe you're a 10 out of 10. And he said, what are you talking about? And he looked at me and he said, I know I'm a 10 out of 10. And I'm not gay, but even I was turned on by that. I was like, what is that? And it was self-love. And even I got why Pippa liked him. And then I turned to him and I said, Derek, where did you learn that you were a 10 out of 10? And he turned to me and he said the thing that sort of cracked everything and put me on my path. He said, where did you learn you weren't? And in that moment, what it taught me was, A, this one belief about whether you think you're a 10 out of 10 affects everything. You get your Pippas of the world easily within 3 weeks of college, even if you have pimples and you don't need to change yourself. You're more comfortable in your own skin and you're less afraid, all in one belief. And he was telling me that I had learned that I was not a 10 out of 10, which meant I could unlearn it, which means that everything that I wanted and getting away from everything I didn't want could be obtained by unlearning one thing. And the scientist in me was like, this is just efficiency gold. Unlearn one thing and you get everything. And so I examined this and I realized that this belief of whether or not we think we're a 10 out of 10 determines whether we're afraid or not.
Right.
So, how does this come together? The thing that we're actually afraid of is the fear of rejection. That's what everyone's afraid of. We're not actually afraid of someone leaving or saying bad things. It's that fear, that chest-tightening, clammy hand feeling of rejection. That's what we're actually afraid of. So then I started to dig deeper, the scientist in me. I said, well, what is rejection? What's the mechanics of it? Because sometimes we can understand things better if we break them down into smaller pieces. So I looked at what is rejection. And rejection has two components. The first component is that there's generally a no. Someone's going to say no to you. You know, I love you. Do you love me? No. Can I kiss you? No. If somebody leaves you, they're sort of saying, no. On some level, you're getting a no. But a no doesn't inherently scare you because we get no's all the time. If you go to the supermarket and it's closed, it's saying no, but you don't freak out and go, the store rejected me. Or if you apply for a loan and they say no, you don't freak out and go, the bank doesn't love me. So we get no's all the time in life. And in fact, we like no's because they make life challenging. So we kind of like most no's. So what turns a no from a normal no into a knee-shaking, clammy, hand-inducing rejection? And it's the second part, which is that rejection is no plus a meaning. It's the meaning that turns the no into the rejection. So the scientist in me was like, what's that no? What's the meaning that's freaking everybody out? And the meaning that turns a no into rejection is that scary belief that we all have, which is that we're not enough to be loved. That's the meaning. Because if you feel the feeling of not enough to be loved, it'll actually tighten your chest a bit. You'll actually feel do you feel it a little bit? And not only does it create a very sort of deep psychic kind of pukey feeling, because it's just sad and horrible that you're telling yourself you're not enough to be loved, but also some of our consciousness is baby wiring that was laid in a long time ago when we were babies. Now, if you're a baby, you don't know a whole lot, but you kind of know that you can't survive unless those two blobs on the outside love you. If they love you, they'll feed you and protect you when you live. If they don't love you, you're going to die of starvation or be attacked by a tiger. So imagine that a baby is in the crib and all of a sudden a baby gets the feeling that they're not enough to be loved and that those two blobs that keep it alive don't love it anymore and are going to walk away. How's the baby going to feel? The baby's going to feel like it's going to freaking die. So when you feel not enoughness, you get a, that's horrible feeling, and you get what I call baby death fear feeling. And if you've ever had a fear of public speaking in that, that's baby death fear kicking in, which is like, I'm unlovable and I'm going to be abandoned. I'm literally going to die of starvation and tiger attack. So not enoughness isn't any cute and cuddly little limiting belief. What enforces it and scares us and ruins our life is that it's got heavy artillery, mafia level enforcement, which is that it can hijack your body. And humans are emotional creatures. We do what feels good. We go towards pleasure and away from pain. So most of our lives, believe it or not, are not what we want or what our dreams are. We're beholden to this very viscerally controlling not enoughness belief. So the scientist in me said, if I want more love, all I have to do is look at this not enoughness belief and get rid of it. And that's what the science that I spent 10 years doing, that's the tools that I've created, and that's what I want to share with you in this training.
Phenomenal. Thank you so much for putting it all together. So how do we remedy that? What is that next step?
So the next step is to understand not enoughness and the structure of it so we can dismantle it. Many people know about the not enoughness belief. Some people say I'm not enough to be loved. Some people say I have low self-esteem. I don't love myself. I lack confidence. It has different phrasings. We all know about it. I didn't come up with this. I'm not the first person to say, hey, you don't love yourself. You already knew that. But the scientist in me knew that, and then I looked around and there were no tools to fix this. So I'm an engineer. I used to design bikes. I'm like, I'm going to design a not enoughness dissolver machine. So the first thing is that you need to know that not enoughness isn't real. It's actually just made up. It's Santa Claus. When we're a kid, we got scared. Some love went missing, and we wondered why the love went missing, and we freaked out. Now, we didn't know that the love went missing because our parents or whoever it was were limited. So we didn't know it was their fault that the love went missing, and we blame ourselves. Now, the fact is, you did nothing wrong. You were in the wrong place at the wrong time, but you kind of wanted to blame yourself, so you had someone to blame and feel like you had a sense of control in a scary situation. And we just make up that we're not enough to be loved. When my dad didn't praise me for winning class president, and he said, it's not my job to praise you, it's my job to tell you when you mess up, I was so scared, freaked out, I didn't know why he said it, and I blamed myself, and I made up, keyword, made up, that I'm not enough to be loved. So in reality, it's not real. No human can be enough or not enough. It's the same as Santa Claus, Tooth Fairy, Easter Bunny. So if you understand that, you have a different relationship to the belief. Some people truly believe they're not enough to be loved, and then they have to go become more enough. There is no, you were never not enough, you don't have to be more enough. It's a made-up construct. It's a lie. It's just an absolute lie. And if you understand it's a lie, you have power over it. If you actually believe it's real, it'll ruin your day. But if you understand it's a lie, it changes the entire economy of what's going on, because a lie is very easy to get rid of. Do you know how you get rid of a lie?
How?
You know it's a lie. That's it. If you don't know that Santa Claus is fake, you're just buying into Santa Claus. You're like, oh, totally, I'm going to write him letters, I'm going to put cookies. You're totally buying into this paradigm. But there's always that first time when you're like, wait a minute, is that beard real? Wait, hold on, why do all the Santa Clauses, is this even, and the second you realize it's a lie, you've got like 5 more days of believing in Santa Claus, and then it collapses, and you don't go back to believing in Santa Claus. Once you realize Santa Claus is fake, no kid's ever been like, maybe I should revisit this. Like, once the lie has been exposed,
Right.
It dies. Now, this is very important, because if you ask people, why do you think you're not enough to be loved? Most people will say, well, when I was a kid, some bad stuff happened, and that's why I believe it. And that's what a lot of people think, but that's not real, because we get a lot of lies as a kid. There's a lot of lies that we get told as a child. Santa Claus, I thought on these little boxes of chocolates for Andy's Candies, it said 144 count, and at 9 years old, I thought it was like a challenge, sort of like 144 count. And I would sit there and I would buy them and count them. I had a friend whose dad told him that fog was actually cotton candy, and he believed it, until one day he stuck his tongue out. Fog wasn't sweet. His software was updated. So there's lots of lies that we get as a kid, and all of them get updated, except for not enoughness. And that bad boy is sticking around like a barnacle on steroids. So the scientist in me was like, wait, why is this lie still sticking around? Well, for a lie to stick around, you need to keep telling yourself the lie. You need to keep repeatedly telling it. Truth, you don't need to update. Once you learn truth, that's the end of the discussion. Once you look up, you see the sky is blue, you remember that. No one has to walk up to you each day and say, hey, by the way, the sky is blue, the sky is blue. You've been updated to truth. But lies, you have to keep retelling it like propaganda to keep the lie alive. So the scientist in me said, somewhere there's got to be some secret hidden vault of like a little toxic lie factory somewhere pumping not enoughness into my bloodstream. Because I never actively looked in the mirror and said, Daniel, you are simply not enough to be loved. I've never said that even once, yet I truly felt that way. So I went looking for this magical lie source, and I found it in Mexico.
Okay, now you gotta continue. Tell us more.
Why, thank you, Bishop, I will. So, when I felt not enough to be loved, I did what many men do, which is that I went to go seek approval of the lady folk. I know you would never do that. But I did. I thought, I'm not enough to be loved. I'm going to get something shiny and vanilla scented to like me, and I'm going to feel lovable. And that's what validation is, and we all do that. We don't feel enough to be loved, and we try and get the outside world to like us and love us. So I went to love me. Now, it never worked, meaning a woman would like me, and it would feel good, but I never felt enough, which should have been a clue, but I kept going, and like an addict, I just kept like indulging more and more and more. And finally, I was in Mexico at this very fancy nightclub, and they had a cabaret show, and these very beautiful cabaret dancers came out, and they were very sexy and beautiful, and the lead dancer was gorgeous, and my ego thought, her, get her, get the lead dancer, I'll feel special, and I'll be enough to be loved. So I'm out after the show, and I'm sitting on the patio, and there she is, and I see her, and all of a sudden we start chatting, and I'm being relatively charming, and I don't know if I was a white guy in Mexico, or it was just my night. She turns to me, and she just hands me her number, and she says, you call me tonight. And my ego is like, yeah! Like, got the hot cabaret dancer, she's just throwing herself at me, I don't even have to, like, do the middle part. And my ego's on fire. I'm like, I am so enough, it's ridiculous. So I walk into the club, and I'm hanging out with my friends who were personal development people. They knew things. And I walk up with the phone number, and I show it to my friend, and I say, guess whose phone number I got? And he says, you can't call her. And I said, what? Why? And he said, because she's beautiful. And I was like, what? That's the reason I have to call her. And he said, no. He looked at me, and he said, you think you're not enough to be loved. And if she sleeps with you, you'll feel enough to be loved. And I was like, you're darn right I do. This is timeless. And he said, exactly. If you think that she can make you more enough to be loved, she's just reinforced the fact that you think you're not enough to be loved to begin with. Thus, by sleeping with her, she's not raising your self-esteem, she's actually lowering it. And when I heard, do you get that? Mm-hmm. When I heard that, it was like my twin towers of consciousness just went, and my whole reverse Ponzi scheme of consciousness just dissolved. And what he was telling me was, there's this belief of not enoughness. And if you make any choice based in not enoughness, that's where we keep not enoughness alive. For instance, if you think there's a monster in the closet, there's not. But now if you say, I'm going to move houses to get away from the monster, you've just made it more real. Or if you take a monster in the closet confidence class, it's nice, but you've just reinforced that the monster is real. So there were all these choices throughout my life, and I looked, and all day, every day, I was making anywhere from 10 to 60 choices a day that were subconsciously based in not enoughness, thus reinforcing this belief, thus making me afraid of rejection, thus keeping me from authenticity and everything. So what I did is I tracked my life, and I found the 6 ways that I subconsciously and accidentally keep not enoughness alive. Okay, so this is called the hurty choices, and these are the ways that you hurt your love life. As you'll see, these choices push love away, but they also hurt your self-love because they reinforce not enoughness. In each one, on the top, you'll see the choice, in this case, validation, and then underneath it's the strategy, meaning how do we carry this particular choice out? So for instance, people that seek validation, meaning I'm not enough to be loved, will you please do something and I'll make it mean I'm enough, we try to be liked, or be accepted, or be wanted. So that's the strategy, is being liked. Attacking is, for instance, I don't know, I've been on a date, it went really well, and she doesn't call me back. Now that's going to trigger my not enoughness, because I'm going to tell myself, well, she's not calling me back because I'm not enough, and I'm going to attack her. I'm going to make her wrong and get her out. I'm going to call her the B word, what's wrong with her, what's wrong with women. So a lot of that anger that men have for women and women have for men, that attacking is often a result is I'm feeling scared, and I'm going into the attack mode of fight or flight. And we're trying to get rid of this person that's making us feel not enough. The next one is that we avoid. You just see the thing, I think it could possibly reject me or make me feel not enough to be loved, and I'm just not even going near it. And the number one way that we do this is excuses. Next one down is to control. There's something out there in the world that's making me feel not enough to be loved. Maybe it's writing a book, maybe it's telling my partner I love them, I don't like it, so I go into control mode. And one of the ways that we do this is rules. What should I do? What should I say? What should they do? What should they say? And the idea subconsciously, if we can just stay in the box and stay in the little lines, I'm not going to get hurt and feel enough to be loved. The next one is to be guarded. You think something could make you feel not enough to be loved, and you guard. You just don't want to let anything in, and you put up emotional walls. That's the strategy. And then finally, you have stalling. Stalling is you're not fully running and avoiding, but you're also not going towards. You're hovering. You're just like a little fish hovering, and the way that we hover around the thing is by overthinking. We see the thing that we want to do, we think it can reject us, and we start to go into overthinking. Thinking, what should I do? What should I say? What should the font be on the actual book? I mean, if I don't get the right font, and we go into Rain Man. If you've ever gone into Rain Man, you're in an overthinking avoidance pattern. Okay? Now, you on some level already know that these things, seeking validation, judgment, avoidance, control, being guarded, installing, you already know that you do these things, and you already know that they push love away. You didn't need me to tell you that. So I'm not telling it to you to tell you that you do it. I want to show you something a deeper level, which is that these choices reinforce the not enoughness belief. So if we go down to the next slide, you'll see this loop. And this is the loop of a life based in not enoughness. So we start in the middle, and we're feeling not enough to be loved. And we're not prepared, meaning we're not aware of how our consciousness operates. At step one, the fear shows up, and we get scared, and we just get freaked out, and we go into autopilot mode, and we just react. We're in fight or flight, and we just react. And you're just basically a passenger in your own life. You can't create what you want, because you're just getting shooken around like a rag doll. And to avoid being hurt and rejected and feeling not enough, you make a hurty choice. Now, the second you make that hurty choice, and you're avoiding not enoughness, you've just told yourself you're not enough to be loved. You've reinforced that belief that should have been gone since childhood, but you retell it to yourself. However, when we make a hurty choice, like avoiding, judging, stalling, it disconnects us from love. It protects us from getting hurt, but it also disconnects us from love, so we get less love. Now, when the love goes missing, instead of being responsible and saying, I tell you why the love went missing, it's because I got scared, I put up walls, I wasn't honest. We're not that smart, we're not that responsible. We go, I know why the love went missing. I'm not enough to be loved. And it reinforces it again. There was this girl in college, the one that was in my bed, and I wanted to just sort of maybe touch her hair, and I didn't. And then, because I was too scared, the not enoughness was too gripping. 2 weeks later, I see her holding hands with the best looking guy in school, and I went, aha, I knew it. I'm not enough to be loved. He doesn't have pimples, I have pimples, that's why I didn't get love. I blamed it on my not enoughness and my pimples instead of being responsible and conscious, saying, I'll tell you why you didn't get the girl. You didn't override your not enoughness, or you didn't have the courage in that moment. So what happens is, there's a loop where our thoughts of not enoughness create choices, and the choices reinforce the thoughts, and you get stuck in this.
Hi everyone, welcome to another Mind Valley Insiders episode. Today our guest is Daniel Packett. Now some of you may have seen Daniel. He showed up at A-Fest. He networked with several people in my team. And Daniel, you see, is a guy they call the Love Doctor. He's called a Love Doctor because he's got these beautiful models and systems so crystal clear, so easily applicable, that just happen to help people fix their messed up love lives. And so people started coming up to me and saying, Vishen, you got to talk to this guy. Vishen, you got to bring him onto Mind Valley because he's going to be able to influence so many people. I then brought Daniel to speak at A-Fest. He went from being an attendee to being a speaker, and again he thrilled the crowd. We then brought Daniel to come and speak at Mind Valley University in Barcelona, which is where we're doing this interview right now. But now, because Daniel has had such a profound impact on our community, we wanted to pull him into our film studio and do a whole new episode with Daniel Packett, the Love Doctor. Daniel, welcome.
Thank you.
So I know you're absolutely thrilled to be here.
Yes.
and I love the socks. I love the green shirt. One question,
Yes,
why
sir.
Love Doctor?
You know, I don't, that's what people call me. I think partly it's because in some ways, I don't like to use the word fix, but people come to me and they're in pain and they're suffering and it's not working, and we've all been there. And just like a doctor, I listen, I can diagnose, and then I give people a little epiphany, a little pop, sort of like cracking your back, where they feel better, they feel lighter, they feel more hopeful.
That's what I like about you, Daniel, is, get this, Daniel was a professional stand-up comedian for 10 years. And so one of the reasons why I love doing these interviews with you or seeing you on stage is that you take a topic that can be so painful for so
Top of the bad software, because your foundation is
Right.
on, everything is off. So you just said to me, what if I walked up to a woman and told her my insecurities? Isn't that going to drive a woman away?
Right.
You said that. You actually believe that if you reveal the real you, she's going to run away. And I see you, and I see that you're enough. If you could connect to all that in that moment and pre-validate yourself, activate your inner greatness before you walk up, knowing that no matter what happens, you can be there for you. You can love you. You can be proud of you. How scary would it be on a scale from 1 to 10?
a 4.
Well, and that's the power of this model.
Right.
We haven't made you better. We haven't given you super pack. You haven't even faced the fear. It drops the fear down to a level that you can act, but also you've just learned about yourself
Right.
more. So the next time your BS rules, you'll be like, oh, there they are again. They're down. Next time you can do it, you can reconnect to your love for yourself. So every time you use these awareness patterns, you're truly getting stronger, you're truly getting more aware, and you're truly falling in love with yourself. So not only do you get more love from the world, but you're falling in love with yourself, and it makes the whole thing easier.
Beautiful. And so I love what you did, and I think you just ended it on the perfect note. Not only are you getting more love, but you're falling more in love with yourself. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you.
Any closing words for our audience to remember?
Well, it's on that, people come to me for love and to be less afraid, and I help them with that because that's where the pain point. But for me, I adore myself. I used to hate myself and think I was broken. And when I wake up in the morning and I look in the mirror and I adore me, when I put my head down on the pillow and I go, I'm enough to be loved. It is a sacred feeling. You feel connected to God. That's the feeling that I want every human being to feel, and that is the passion and purpose that I bring in the world. So if anybody else out there wants to feel that sacred feeling and get more love in the world as a bonus, it would be my honor to help you. Thank you for having me.
Daniel. What's your website if people want to look you up?
Loveathlete.com.
Loveathlete.com. Good one. And your book?
Love's One Lesson, How One Thing Can Change Everything.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you. I'm avoiding that person because I think they can make me not enough. Wait, that doesn't even make any sense. You're already putting the light of truth onto it in the same way that mildew can't live in sunlight, lies can't live in the light of truth. You put light of truth on a lie, it starts to dissolve. So just by being mindful with awareness, you're already dissolving not enoughness out of your system. Now, if you make a flirty choice, you've then told yourself through action, no, I am enough to be loved. How do I know? I just put myself in a position to be loved. If I say I'm going to be vulnerable and I pick a flirty choice, I've actually consciously told myself I'm so lovable and enough that I put myself in a position to be loved. And you tell the inner child, hey, I'm sorry I've been hiding you, but I want to put you front and center. So that action really reinforces that you're enough to be loved. But then when you're vulnerable or you're more authentic or you're more spontaneous, what does that do? Well, it takes us to number 4, which is that we connect more. When we make flirty choices, we're more vulnerable, we're more authentic, we're more in flow, we connect more, and we move to number 5, which is that we get more love. People appreciate us more, they connect with us more, they want to help us more, you inspire them to be vulnerable, and when you get more love from the outside world, you start to think, well, maybe I am enough to be loved. Look at all the love that's showing up when I was authentically me. So you feel not enough, that you start to feel more enough there. So basically what happens is you start at step 1 and the fear shows up. Step 2, you dissolve a little bit of not enoughness. Step 3, you make a flirty choice, which actively dissolves more not enoughness. Then you attract more love in your life, and that makes you feel more not enough to be loved, so the not enoughness goes down. And then you just start repeating the loop, and the loop just repeats and repeats and repeats. And every time you make a flirty choice, you're shutting down the toxic system, and you're creating a never-ending loop of self-loving called the figure great. Ah. So the beauty is that you don't need to fix yourself, you don't need to face your fears, you don't need to love yourself more. Through awareness and a bit of courage, you can move from hurty choices to flirty choices, and from figure hate to figure great. And the figure great dissolves the lies out of your system. The truth comes back that you're enough to be loved, you're naturally authentic and vulnerable. Love is easy, and you get more love with less work. How's that sound?
Beautiful. Beautifully put together. Thank you, Daniel.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking at the diagram again, okay? And so just to recap, to go to figure great, when fear shows up, we have awareness, we respond, which dissolves the fear, we make a flirty choice, which dissolves the not enough, which opens us up to connection, aliveness, more love, which makes us feel proud, the not enough feels less real, and we go back into that figure great. What is the first thing we do when we suddenly feel this feeling of not enoughness? I guess I'm stuck there. What is that first action to take?
Well, the first action is the action that you can take at any moment in this model. And I want to be clear, this model isn't designed to tell you, go be spontaneous, go be vulnerable.
Right.
It's a perceptual model that forces you through awareness to dissolve. Similar to the way meditation, it's not the pillow that heals you. It's that through sitting on a pillow, you're drawn into a reflection and awareness where you awaken. So I don't want anyone to say, I got it, Daniel, surrender more. No, you already knew this. It's a perceptual model that through mindful, repetitive awareness, it dissolves the lie out of your system. And that's what's so cool about this model. You don't even have to do the flirty choice. Meaning, if I just sit here and I say, I'm trying to get you to like me because I think you can make me feel more enough to be loved. Not enough to be loved. That's like that doesn't even make any sense. And how can vision even make, in that moment, I'm already dissolving the not enoughness out of my system. You don't even have to go do the thing.
You're saying the realization already starts the figure great.
We're just dissolving a lie through awareness. Now, with courage, you get a little jetpack, a little turbo, and God likes courage and commitment, so you get a little boost. But you don't have to scare yourself and force yourself. You're treating your inner child very gently and through mindful awareness, just sitting in your garden, getting to know you and say, hey, I'm here, I love you, you are enough. It starts the healing. And it's a very beautiful model because it's feminine. There's a certain nurturing of just being aware of yourself, learning about yourself, spending time in the garden. I think sometimes we like masculine personal development, like go be great, be the change, you're incredible, and it's very masculine. And there's a role for that, but there's also the feminine, which is to kindness, acknowledgement, awareness. Just a parent sitting with a child saying, I see you, I'm sorry I got confused and I went to the outside world, but I'm here to see how beautiful you are now. It's like, it just feels good.
Beautifully said. So Daniel, those were incredible new models of reality for you guys to adopt. And I love what Daniel said. Did you notice the resemblance to the Mind Valley philosophy? When you can see the brule disappears. When you can see the lie ceases to exist. So at this point, Daniel, we've discussed these new models of reality. So hopefully you guys have developed some new beliefs here. Now let's talk about systems. What are some systems for living that our audience can bring in their life to start executing on this?
Well, the most important thing is to understand that what's causing all the problem are these lies. So the one thing you don't want to do is reinforce lies. That's what's keeping the factory alive. So if nothing else, we want to approach these things from the most honest perspective, most truthful perspective possible. And one of the highest values in spirituality is just honesty. So one of the things is we're not honest. And you'll see this when people will say, well, I want to go do that thing, what do I do? And they start to go into the overthinking pattern, thinking that their mind can solve this situation. It doesn't work. Our mind can't handle it. We get frustrated. So it's much more honest to just say, I'm afraid. I'm afraid. And right away, it stops you from thinking, well, what if, and then if, and if only, it just says, no, we don't need to go there. I'm afraid. And then it just makes it very simple. Either I'm afraid and I am going to stay here, or I'm going to have courage and walk up. But it's honest. It doesn't tell us you need to know anything. We stay in reality. I'm afraid and I sit, or I have courage and I walk. Honesty, and it doesn't reinforce the lie that knowing will get you anything. And it energetically, vibrationally tells you that still authenticity is the best way to go. If you don't want to be authentic, that's fine, but keep it in truth.
Okay, so if you're feeling afraid, You admit that you're afraid.
Yes.
What about for people who are stalling?
So for people who are stalling, again, it's another way of using this model to just be honest and in integrity. So often, we don't want to do the thing and we feel fear. You should just acknowledge that you're afraid and then say to yourself, I'm not walking up and I'm not going after my dreams because I choose comfort. Just keep it simple. Be honest and integrity. Now, your ego's going to hate that. Your ego can't stand to hear that you're giving up your dreams for comfort. But it is, in fact, true. And here's the beauty. With awareness, if I say, you know what, the reason I'm not writing my book is not because I don't have a publisher. It's not because I don't have the right font. It's not because, no. I just simply, the not enoughness is winning, and I choose comfort over my dreams. It's true, it's honest, and it's aware. But guess what? After like 12, 13, 14 times of saying, hey Daniel, why aren't you writing your book? I choose comfort over my dreams. You kind of can't take it anymore. And you go and you write your book. But again, we don't face our fears, we dismantle and disempower the fears, and then the truth arises. Not only do you get it faster, it's more sustainable, but you learn about yourself quicker so that these patterns break down throughout your entire life.
Beautiful. Now, there are a couple of other really quick perceptual tools that you talk about. Spot the not, fry the lie, activate the great. Will you share those with us?
Yeah, so those are because people come to me and they say, Daniel, you know, I get it. I want to surrender more. I get the what, what's the how? So when I work with people, I give them the how, which is